and a PDF, and it was the presentation of this sample data project that Nike had made. I was like 2 nights before my match in Wimbledon, and I it was so beautiful. It was like the message behind it was great. I felt that it fit me so much, and I mean I was so lucky.
Hey everyone! We are working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content and it is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button right now as we proceed. Subscribe right now and do not go anywhere because the story we are about to lay out for you is the kind of thing that only happens once in a generation of professional sports. What is unfolding right now in Miami, Florida ahead of the 2026 Miami Open is not just a tennis storyline. It is a cultural earthquake. A 20-year-old from the Philippines is walking back into the arena that changed her life 12 months ago, and this time she is not arriving as a wild card that the tournament did a favor for. This time she is the one doing the tournament a favor by showing up. And the numbers, the crowds, the sold-out seats, and the jaw-dropping digital engagement prove every word of that. The Eala era is not coming. It is already here. And Miami is about to find out exactly what that means. Let us start with the raw reality of what is happening on the ground, because it is genuinely unlike anything professional tennis has seen in recent memory. At the Indian Wells Open just days ago, Eala's practice sessions were pulling crowds comparable to those showing up for Carlos Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner, and Venus Williams. Not her matches, her practice sessions. Hundreds of fans packed a small practice court under the Palm Springs sun just to watch her warm up and work through her routines. On the adjacent courts, players ranked significantly higher in the world were going through their preparations in front of a handful of spectators. The crowd followed the energy. And the energy was entirely surrounding Eala. At night, with desert temperatures dropping and midnight approaching, her first-round match against Diana Yastremska stretched past 2 hours and 40 minutes, the longest match of the entire day. Her fans did not leave. They did not drift toward the exits. They stayed, loud and devoted, cheering every point in the cold desert air until she won 7 games to 5 in the third set to advance. She told reporters afterward that for her fans to make that kind of effort, to stay that late, to stay in that cold and cheer her on through every moment of a grinding 3-set battle, added to everything she felt in that match. That is not a fan base. That is a movement. The BNP Paribas Open posted a day in the life video featuring Eala on their official YouTube channel, and it became the tournament's most watched content of the entire 2026 event, and it was not close. 94,000 views. Her pre-tournament press conference at the Australian Open earlier this year generated 196,000 views, nearly twice the number recorded for Novak Djokovic's presser and more than 6 times the views for eventual men's champion Carlos Alcaraz. Aryna Sabalenka, the world number 1 and a 2-time Melbourne champion, recorded 9,000 views for her pre-tournament press conference. 9,000 against 196,000. Those are not just numbers. That is a story about who the tennis audience is choosing to pay attention to, and it is a story that the WTA and tournament directors around the world are being forced to reckon with whether they planned for it or not. Coco Gauff said it publicly and said it beautifully after their Dubai quarterfinal earlier this year. She thanked the crowd for showing up, acknowledged that most of them were there for Eala, and then said something that deserves to be replayed on a loop at every WTA boardroom meeting for the next 12 months. She thanked Alex for bringing a new demographic to the sport. She called it great. She called it something she appreciated. Because Gauff understands, as one of the sport's genuine stars, that a player who introduces entirely new audiences to tennis is doing something that benefits everybody. Andy Roddick called it the type of story you cheer for because it is great for tennis. Novak Djokovic called the crowd situation a good problem to have. When the biggest names in the sport are publicly celebrating what you bring to the table, that is not a trend. That is a transformation. Now let us talk about the stakes heading into Miami, because they are as high as they have ever been for Eala and the tension could not be more real. She arrives at Hard Rock Stadium ranked 32nd in the world, with a career high of 28 in the live rankings. She has a first-round bye as a seeded player. She has wins over Iga Swiatek, Madison Keys, Yelena Ostapenko, and Coco Gauff on her resume. She has Grand Slam main draw wins. She has reached the fourth round of a WTA 1000 event at Indian Wells as a seeded player. The trajectory has been relentlessly upward since that breakthrough semifinal run in this exact tournament 12 months ago. But here is the thing that makes Miami 2026 genuinely different from Miami 2025. Those 390 ranking points she earned from last year's semifinal run expire the moment the tournament begins. That is the WTA system at work. Points have a 1-year shelf life, and if she does not at least match her previous result, her ranking takes a significant hit. If she fails to reach the semifinals again, she drops from the world's top 30 back toward the top 50 to 60 range, potentially undoing the bulk of the points accumulation that defines her current standing in the sport. She entered 2026 with 1,542 points. Without those 390 being defended, she falls to around 1,142, and the rankings math sends her all the way back toward where she started the year. That is not a small amount of pressure. Last year she had nothing to defend and everything to gain. She was a wild card with 0 points at stake and total freedom to simply play. This year, she is a seeded player with expectations attached to her name. An early exit is not a pleasant surprise anymore. It is an underperformance. The entire framing of her Miami experience has flipped from one year to the next, and that shift is the clearest possible measure of how far she has come and how much the stakes have risen. But here is what Eala herself said about all of it, and this is the part that should fill every Pine Army member around the world with genuine confidence. She said Miami last year was a beautiful time for her and it was the start of all of this, but since then she has achieved a lot. She has grown. She has had good matches and tough losses and so much experience. And then she said the line that defines exactly who this person is at her core. She said it does not matter if she wins the tournament or loses in the first round. She knows she is here and she is here to stay. That is not bravado. That is not false confidence. That is a 20-year-old who has absorbed every lesson that a breakout year in professional tennis can teach you and emerged from it with clarity and belief in herself that most players spend an entire career trying to develop. James Blake heard all of it and made his position perfectly clear. He told Tennis Channel directly that last year was a coming-out party for Eala in Miami. He said the international interest surrounding her is at a level that simply cannot be accommodated on smaller courts. He talked about Miami being a cultural melting pot perfectly suited to her global fan base, with the Filipino community in South Florida enormous and passionate and ready to turn Hard Rock Stadium into something that feels like a home match. And then he made the commitment explicit: they are going to need her on center court, because she has so many fans worldwide that playing anywhere smaller would be an injustice to what she has become. The draw has set up a tournament full of possibility and danger in equal measure. Aryna Sabalenka arrives as the defending champion and world number 1, coming off her Indian Wells title and as dominant as she has been at any point in the last 2 years. Iga Swiatek is in the draw. Elena Rybakina, Coco Gauff, Jessica Pegula, who ended Eala's run in 3 sets in last year's semifinal and has spoken openly about how disorienting it was to play against her in front of that crowd. The field is exactly as difficult as it should be at a WTA 1000 event. And right in the middle of it, seated 32nd, carrying a year's worth of experience and growth and competitive fire, is the 20-year-old who already beat 3 Grand Slam champions at this tournament when the world barely knew her name. The Eala Tour, as ESPN and others have already taken to calling it, does not stop in Miami. After this tournament, she heads to Europe for the clay season, already confirmed in the main draw of the Upper Austria Ladies Linz Open alongside top 20 players. The calendar stretches toward the French Open, toward Wimbledon, toward a year that has more major opportunities in it than any year she has previously played. But Miami is the moment. Miami is where the story began. And Miami is where the next chapter gets written, in front of a sold-out center court, with thousands of Pine Army faithful roaring through every single point. She was a wild card 12 months ago. Today, the tournament is built around her. That is the Alex Eala effect. And it is only getting started. Drop everything in the comments right now. Do you believe Eala can defend her semifinal result and push into the world's top 20 for the first time? Can she go even further and claim her first WTA 1000 title in the building where everything began? Let the Pine Army be heard loud and clear down below. Hit that like button if this story has your blood pumping, and subscribe right now because we are covering every single match of the Miami Open from first round to final. Laban Alex. The world is watching.